Welcome in, guys, to week 9 of Classic City Talks from Classic City Locks, giving you our college football picks against the spread. So happy to be back in the studio today. We were worried that we weren't going to have time to get in. We're going out of town tomorrow. We're going to the largest outdoor cocktail party, as they call it, Georgia, Florida, this weekend. So, but we wanted to stay dedicated and get another video out so can keep consistent and help our viewers out. So I'm excited, Mike's excited, and let's get right into it.
Yeah, we appreciate the views on the last video. We realized did pretty well, so we figured the fans deserve the consistency. So
exactly.
let's get right into it. First matchup, we have Virginia Tech going to take on number 24 NC State. Wolfpack favored by 13.5 here. Very interesting matchup, as almost all of them are. NC State, no more Devin Leary, torn pectoral muscle. The driving force behind that offense, they could only score 9 points without him last week. And just getting right into my pick, I'm going to stick with Virginia Tech to cover here because NC State's going to have to rely on their run game, and it's not good. They're 92nd in the country overall with their run game. Mm-hmm. Virginia Tech's defense is middle of the pack. I think it'll be enough to slow them down. Their offense is horrible, but I think this is just going to be a low-scoring defensive slugfest. Give me the points with Virginia Tech.
That's interesting because I think I'm going to go with NC State in this one. They got the night game in Raleigh. This is, I think this is tomorrow, Thursday night.
Yeah,
so
Thursday.
This will probably have happened already by the time you see this. But I think I'm going to go with the Wolfpack in this one. I mean, there's got to be a reason they're giving us this spread without Devin Leary. Like, they know he's not playing, and Virginia Tech is nothing to write home about. So
they only scored 9 points last week.
Who? NC State? Without Devin Leary.
Yeah, Virginia Tech, NC State without Devin Leary.
But who are they playing?
I don't know,
Somebody better than Virginia Tech, I would say for sure.
So you're going to stick with them?
I'm going to stick with the Wolfpack. How can I pick against my Wolfpack?
They scored 9 against Syracuse.
Yeah, but they had a bye last week.
They did have a bye. That's true.
And that's Syracuse, who just went in and played Clemson very tough at home.
We'll get to them in a little bit.
I'm gonna go with NC State.
All
so
right.
A little disagreement off the bat. Nothing good for ratings and nothing else.
People love the controversy.
Number 14, Utah, going into Washington State. Utah only a 7.5-point favorite. This could be a trap game, another Thursday night game this coming week. So, what do you want to say about this one?
I'm taking Utah. They're riding the momentum. Key thing I think about this Utah program, they don't get generational talents, they develop them. And they are continuing to climb upward, I feel like.
Yeah.
That win over USC is amazing for momentum for them. And if you look at Washington State injuries, one of their star wide receivers and running back are out indefinitely before Oregon State. And they lost to Oregon State 24-10 without them. So I'm going to stick with red-hot Utah.
They had that close game against Oregon. I mean, Oregon came back, but Washington State still covered. I mean, could you see this game going in a similar fashion?
Not without those two guys.
I'm going Utah as well.
Yeah.
So.
Those two injuries are huge. I mean, they went out on the 11th of October, and then on the 15th, they lost 24-10. So.
Yeah, not the best.
Yeah. Up next, another, probably one of my favorite underrated games. Maybe it's not underrated. I don't know, this week. Notre Dame going into play Syracuse. Syracuse here favored by 3.5. Lot to unpack here. Notre Dame has had a very interesting season. They're streaky to say the least. I think that the Syracuse team, though, should have beat Clemson last week. They just were coached poorly in the second half and made bad decisions. This offense, they're putting up 34 points, 400 yards a game. Syracuse, Notre Dame, comparable, 26 points, 386. So Syracuse has the edge there. And Syracuse's defense is better. If you're giving me the home environment, and I think that this team had the potential to be 7-0 against a streaky Notre Dame team, I'm going to take them to win by a touchdown or two. So give me the cues here.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think the words to describe Notre Dame this season have been topsy-turvy.
Yes,
they go from like a great win in Las Vegas to
they lose to Stanford.
Losing to Stanford at home. Like Stanford, So I'm going to stick with a safe bet in Syracuse here in this one. The line has shifted down to 2.5 instead of 3.5, and 3.5 is like our favorite. But man, I just trust a Syracuse team that kept Clemson as close as they did last week on the road at home. I don't know how they match up per se against Notre Dame, but I'm going to ride with the orange as well.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's a good pick. People are sleeping on them. I mean, their season's not over.
No.
One loss, not over at all.
So we move on to Columbus. Oh, no, excuse me. Beaver Stadium. I forgot that this is the not whiteout game at Penn State. But Ohio State, number 2 in the country, going on to take Penn State, number 13 in the country. Ohio State favored by 15.5 in this one. I picked against Ohio State last week, and I'm going to make up for that by picking them here to cover. I think Penn State is a little overrated still. And the home environment is not going to be the same at noon, nearly not even close as it was last week for the night game. So I think Ohio State might struggle a little bit early on in this one, but could easily win by 16.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that this might be a little close at the beginning, and then Ohio State will pull away and not look back.
Yeah.
I mean, Michigan beat them 41-17.
Right.
And again, like later as the game progressed, they just never looked back. And this is an Ohio State defense that we know is better than them. So I was like really shocked when I saw that line. I figured it'd be around 20.5.
Yeah.
I feel like it's way too low. So maybe they know something we don't. But I'm going to stick with this Ohio State offense. They're rolling. I don't really see a reason to go against them.
I think it's a huge comes down to this game is the push factor. You know, I always say kind of once you start getting to the third quarter, your big bodies have been pushing on theirs for however long. They really start to wear down, and I think the offense will be able to just run the ball as much as they want at that point once Penn State kind of tires out. So
yeah, well, we're in agreement there. Up next, we have number 7 TCU. Going to take on unranked West Virginia. TCU favored by 6.5 here. West Virginia, another team that I have not been impressed with. They had that close week 1 game against Pitt, and Pitt has kind of fallen off the wagon here as not really a good team. So on the flip side, TCU, 4 ranked wins in a row. Granted, 3 of them were helped with injuries. But last week, man, if you saw that game, come from behind, win, and cover against Kansas State.
That was crazy.
And this TCU team just continues to win in adverse conditions. Their quarterback, I think his last name is Dugan.
Max Dugan.
Yeah, Max Dugan. He's only thrown 1 interception all year. It's just a solid squad. I mean, they have really just, stayed focused and continue to win in tough conditions. And I don't really see them losing to a West Virginia team that's been up and down all year.
Yeah, I agree completely here. I'm also going with TCU. I think they've proven to us that
they're good.
They're a good team. I mean, number 7 in the nation. They just won a great game against Kansas State.
A good Kansas State team as well.
It's like you compared this to the Pitt game. Like Pitt was favored by 7 going in there. And I think TCU is much better than Pitt. West Virginia, I think, has gotten things going a little bit better than they did at first game of the season. But
they picked off Baylor.
Yeah. So I still stick with TCU in this one. Next up, number 20, Cincinnati going into UCF to take on the Golden Knights. And Cincinnati favored by 0.5 point in this one. So basically just winner outright.
Yeah.
So that's easy for me. I'm going to go with the Bearcats in this one. I think last week they had a pretty good performance, if I'm not mistaken. Did SMU win that game? Or?
No, Cincinnati won by 2.
Okay.
I got burned at the end there. That was one that you got.
But
UCF lost last week.
UCF lost bad to East Carolina last week. At home, I believe. So
it was bad.
I don't see why I wouldn't pick the favorite in this one to win. Give me the Bearcats.
Yeah, the only reservation I have is it's in the bounce house. That's a formidable environment to go into, I would say. It's certainly no swamp in Florida.
Yeah.
But yeah, give me the Bearcats here. I mean, they put together some solid wins. I mean, they took care of good business against Indiana, and they've just found ways to win against other teams. And if you're just going to give me an outright winner, give me them over a weaker UCF team.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, well, that was quick. Up next, we have the game that we'll be going to. Well, not the game, but, the festivities related to the game. Florida playing Georgia in Jacksonville. Georgia favored by 22.5.
Yeah.
I will say outright right here, this is the one pick where I came in today to the studio not knowing. I don't know who I'm going to pick here because I can see it going either way. Like I said last week, there are 2 Georgia teams. There's the Georgia team that beat up Oregon, and there's the Georgia team that, almost lost to Missouri. So the question is, who's going to show up?
It's a big rivalry.
It's a big rivalry game, and because of that, I don't believe in Florida, but I'm going to take them to cover just by a little bit here.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm looking on you're switching your pick there.
I know.
I'm looking on your screen there.
I just had to put something in.
Well,
you know what? No. I'm going to take the Bulldogs here. We're going to stick with them. I just don't. I just can't. Anthony Richardson, he's going to throw some picks in the second half.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's what's going to happen.
Yeah, okay.
This is my final pick. Florida's going to try to run the ball because that's what they need to do. They're not going to be able to do it. They're going to force Anthony Richardson to throw it, and he's going to throw picks.
What if he plays like how he played against Tennessee?
Not happening. No.
Why not?
That was one that in Utah. That's all he got. Give me the Bulldogs.
All right. Well, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. I am 0-8. 8 games in or not? No,
not one.
Seven games picking Georgia, not one correct. So I'm taking Florida in this one. So betting public, you know what to do. Put it on Georgia because I cannot be right. It's a free line. I'm taking the Gators in this one. If it was 20.5, I would probably lean Georgia. 22.5 is a lot of points. And it's like you said, we just don't. Georgia is inconsistent. We don't know who we're going to get on the field on Saturday. So I think that, and it's a rivalry game. Gators could make their season by upsetting Georgia. The Florida only lost to LSU by 10, and it was some questionable calls and officiating in that game as well. So I don't think that they're anything to, just kind of brush off your schedule and be like, all right, next we got Tennessee on the schedule. But that's why I think Florida could get a sleepy upset in here. Maybe not an upset, but a sleepy cover for sure. So I'm going to ride with the Gators. Do not ride with me.
I would say don't ride. I would just say stay away from this game. This is not. If you're going to do something with it, moneyline Georgia is probably what I would do. But I don't like this that much.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on. Illinois, number 17, going into Nebraska. Lincoln, Nebraska to take on the Cornhuskers. They are favored by 7.5. The Fighting Illini. So Illinois has got to win by 8 to cover this one. Give me them. I don't think we've picked Nebraska all season.
Yeah. And
I'm gonna continue to not do so. So Illinois is my pick.
Yeah, Illinois has the best defense in terms of yards allowed and points allowed. They're just a solid team, and Nebraska sucks. So give me Illinois here as well.
Quick one.
Yeah, up next, we have Oklahoma State, number 9, going to play number 22, Kansas State. Kansas State is favored here by 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely one of the best games of the week. Thing that I think about the most here, you're giving me a 1.5 with Oklahoma State, and I like Oklahoma State. Y'all know that. Kansas State's defense is good against the run, not really passing, and I think that Oklahoma State can pass the ball here. I think that Spencer Sanders is an amazing quarterback. He's just overall good, and we saw last week that he was able to play despite that injury worry. So I think it'll be a gritty game, but I'm going to lean on the Spencer Sanders offensive game, and you're giving me a point. Give me Oklahoma State.
Yeah, Sanders play and win last week.
And win,
against Texas, at Texas.
And
I guess it was at Oklahoma State.
It was a come-from-behind win, too.
Yeah, so I'm also going to ride with the Cowboys in this one. I picked Kansas State last week, and they disappointed me. So switching, and I got to trust in the Cowboys. Gundy's name does not get mentioned enough on our show, so I'm going with Oklahoma State in that one. Next matchup, number 8, Oregon, going in to take on Cal. Oregon favored by 15.5 in this one. Don't have a whole lot to say other than I trust the Ducks in this one. I think they were 15 or 14.5 point favorites last week. Oh, no, 6.5 against UCLA and absolutely throttled them.
Yeah.
So I think that they will do so again this week against a worse Cal opponent. So I'm taking the Ducks.
I'm also taking the Ducks. I mean, this is a team that, Notre Dame beat Cal, and they're just the bottom of the pack, Pac-12 team.
Yeah.
And Oregon is definitely elite, so I'm going to stick with the Ducks here as well.
Yeah.
All right, up next, my favorite ACC team, number 10, Wake Forest, taking on Louisville. Louisville is unranked here, but Wake Forest is only favored by 4.5. So I was like, what could be going on here? Yeah. This is a middle of the pack Louisville team, and I think that Wake Forest is just, again, they're underrated because you have teams like Clemson, NC State, and Syracuse taking up the limelight. But Wake Forest is 6-1 against the spread.
Yeah.
And I don't really see any reason to doubt them here. I know they're going on the road, but I just trust their offense. I just trust their offense to beat a very mid to not good Louisville team. Louisville just won against someone. Who did they beat? Do you know?
I'm not sure actually. We can check that up for you.
But yeah, I don't really see a reason to doubt Wake Forest here when they just took care of business last week. Yeah, I mean, Louisville, they beat Pitt. But
that's who it was.
But still, I think this is a Pitt team that's kind of been exposed as not being good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to stick with Wake Forest here.
Wow. So I'm actually going to switch to Louisville right now as we're on show. You know why? Because you're wearing a Louisville hat right now, and you just picked against them. So that's got to be bad luck. It's got to be. I think Vegas knows something about this game. Louisville, if you look at the FPI, Wake Forest has a 10, and Louisville is at a 7. So actually, this line is about where where Vegas is saying it should be, where the power rankings are saying it should be. I think it might have dropped 1 point in favor of Louisville, actually. Yeah, so I'm looking at -3.5 Wake Forest instead of 4.5.
I saw some books move up to 5.5.
Well, I'm going to take it at 4.5 with the Cardinals, so I'm going to trust the hometown team there.
All right, well, we'll see. I'm trusting in Hartman, and Hartman we trust.
Well, Missouri going into Columbia, South Carolina next. Taking on the number 25 South Carolina Gamecocks. First time in 4 years they're gracing the AP poll.
Good work.
They had a great win last week against Texas A&M.
Yes.
South Carolina favored by 5.5 in this one. What do you got to say?
Give me the Gamecocks. Spurs up. I think that they know what they're doing. I mean, this is a team that's low-key kind of settling in. South Carolina's 5-2. They lost to Georgia. And who else did they lose to?
I was just looking that up, actually. Arkansas, I believe.
So, Arkansas's kind of fallen off, but still, I mean, that was a road game for them. That's tough. If you give me that electric home environment and this is a crowd that's very excited now to be 5-2, and this offense has finally settled into what I thought they would be. You're giving me Missouri over A&M? I'm going to take the Gamecocks again. I think they can win this by a touchdown for sure.
So you were convincing me there, and then I'm looking at South Carolina's schedule, and I'm remembering what they just faced and what they're going to face against Missouri this weekend. South Carolina played a Kentucky team without Will Levis, so not much of a passing attack there. And then they just played a Texas A&M team without their starting quarterback and their best wide receiver and a lot of other injuries, and I'm thinking, man, I think this might have been the classic, good win AP overreaction. I'm not saying they don't deserve to be 25, but I'm looking at this. They beat Texas A&M by 6. They beat Kentucky by 10.
Do you know what you're forgetting about Kentucky? South Carolina had multiple starting defensive players out.
Yeah, but Kentucky arguably their best player out.
It doesn't matter. If Kentucky is that good.
I'm not saying Kentucky is that good. I'm just saying you have to remember that when South Carolina is playing.
But I think Kentucky's a good team, and if you are missing one player, you should still be able to beat a bad SEC East team.
I'm not saying they're a bad SEC East team. Missouri we thought was a bad SEC East team, and then they played Georgia close. And Luther Burden, their very, very electric wide receiver, could have a lot to say in this one.
Dude, Missouri barely beat Vandy last week.
I knew you were going to look that up and say that, but
if you're going to talk about wins, they handed Auburn that win. Go ahead. Your funeral, dude.
No, I'm not. I haven't made my pick yet. I'm just saying. I had Missouri penciled in before here. You said a lot about South Carolina that convinces me. I think a 5.5 line is too low not to take the home Gamecocks in this one, just because I would stay away from this game if I were you.
Yeah, I would too.
I'm going to go with South Carolina to win a very close cover to the spread here.
Alrighty. Not after all that, you're going to go with the Gamecocks.
I'm just saying, I don't think that one is as cut and dry as the 5.5 looks.
Okay, all right. That's fair.
It's just like the Wake Forest Louisville game. Why is that spread so close?
I don't know.
So
we'll see.
Something about it fishy to me.
Speaking of Kentucky, up next we have number 19 Kentucky going to play number 3 Tennessee. This was a game at the beginning of the year we were thinking would be like a huge matchup to determine number 2 or number 1 in the East. Still a very big matchup. I think that it's sort of being overshadowed by the week after Tennessee at Georgia. Mm-hmm. But if you're Tennessee, you got to be careful here.
Yeah.
Don't want to slip up against Kentucky. They are lucky to be playing them at home, I will say. Tennessee's favored by 12.5 here. Saying all that, I'm going to take the Volunteers here. They demonstrated to us that they're legit. They are very, very good.
Yeah.
That offense is definitely the best top 3 in the country, I would say, without a doubt. Statistically, they're number 2.
Yeah.
And I think that they're just going to rip Kentucky's secondary apart. So
Right.
you give me that Hendon Hooker and what's his name? Their star wide receiver.
Cedric Tillman. Or are you talking about the one from Bama?
He had like 6 touchdowns last year.
Hart, I think. Something like that.
They just have a very good connection.
You don't even know his name and you're picking him.
I can't remember his name. But yes, I trust the Volunteers here to win by over 12.5.
Yeah, 12.5 is a little bit low in my opinion. If you give me 13 or 14.5, I would probably pick Kentucky in this one.
Yeah.
Kentucky's coming off a bye week, which you have to pay attention to, but Kentucky's coming off playing UT Martin. So while they didn't get the rest that Kentucky had, they didn't play. It's not like they played Bama last week.
Yeah.
I will say, just like the Georgia game, I would be very wary of Tennessee looking ahead on their schedule and not playing the game that they are like faced with on Saturday. They're thinking, oh, well, we have just this opponent, and then we got Georgia next week. So I would watch out for that. But 12.5 is, I mean, you saw them down like 17 or 14 to Alabama and come back and win by 7 or whatever it was, 3. But so I'm going to ride with the Volunteers in this one as well. Mm-hmm. But be wary of that game as well.
Yeah, they're a gritty team. They get it done. Definitely.
Yeah. USC, number 10, going into Arizona to take on the Wildcats, I believe. Mm-hmm. USC favored by 14.5 in this one. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm going to ride with the Trojans. I don't like Arizona's football team. The 14.5 is not something that I don't think Caleb Williams can cover, so
yeah,
I'm going to go with them.
They tripped up against a good Utah team.
Mm-hmm.
Give me USC here. This is an Arizona team that's been beaten by like Cal by like 10.
Yeah.
So there's no reason that USC shouldn't win this by, I would say, 21 at least.
Right.
So yeah, give me the Trojans there. Up next, fun rivalry matchup, Michigan State.
Oh, yeah.
Going into Ann Arbor to play number 4 Michigan. Michigan's favored by 22.5 here. Let me give you a quick stat. Since the year 2000, Michigan has covered this specific line 2 times. 2 times.
Against Michigan State?
Against Michigan State. Regardless of ranking, this is always a gritty game.
Yeah.
Michigan State is bad. But you look at that game against Ohio State, they lost to them by 29.
Yeah.
And that's a much better offense than Michigan, I think, in my opinion.
Right.
I'm going to take the Spartans here. Michigan's going to win this game, but you give me that rivalry game matchup, I think that they will keep it close enough to cover here.
Yeah, I actually had the Spartans penciled in here as a kind of a sleeper, exciting pick for this week, but I kind of agree with everything you just said. Michigan just beat Penn State and covered this. They beat Penn State by 24. But the rivalry is there. That was their last game. Michigan and Michigan State coming off a bye week this week.
Mm-hmm.
And Mel Tucker, obviously not on the hot seat, but this season has been a utter disappointment for Michigan State fans.
They were ranked like 11 at one point.
Exactly. So, I mean, he could pick up this statement win and make their season and kind of get a revival in terms of recruiting, in terms of, like, sponsors, everything. So, I'm not picking the Spartans to win this one, but I think they could give Michigan a little bit of a scare. And night game in Ann Arbor, it's going to be very, very, I think it'll be cold. I don't know. But
there was also a stat that Michigan historically is, I might be wrong here, I don't think that they're that good in night games in environments like this.
Yeah. So I'm going to take the Spartans as well in this one. Kind of exciting.
Right. I thought that was going to be my hot take the week, but oh well.
Oh, Mike.
Yeah. Going back to our roots with the Spartans. We were so high on them at the beginning of the season.
Mel Tucker bandwagon fans, for real. Ole Miss, 15, next on the schedule, going into Texas A&M. Ole Miss favored by 2.5 in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you like?
I'm going to take the Rebels here. I don't think that Texas A&M, statistically, their defense against the run is, like, not good.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a very run-heavy Ole Miss team. Granted, it is against A&M at home. That's a very difficult environment to play in.
Yes.
But this is an Ole Miss team that's reeling from a loss to LSU.
Exactly.
And I don't think that they're bad. I think that, Lane Kiffin is probably one of my favorite SEC coaches. Only favored by 2.5. I think that's a bit of a disrespectful considering A&M just lost to South Carolina. I know it was on the road, but give me Ole Miss in a bounce back game here to win by 3.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Rebels in this one. I think that their loss against LSU last week is going to fire them up. I mean, they're fighting for their season now. Wounded animal mode we talk about all year, so they're in that mode now. And Texas A&M, just got blown out by South Carolina. I think they ended up pulling it kind of close.
It was close in the end.
It was like 17-0 after like 5 minutes. So, I don't see any scenario where Texas A&M runs away with this one like LSU did last week. Mm-hmm. So I think the Rebels win in a close one. They could win by 3.
Similar position to LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ole Miss controls their own destiny right now.
Yeah.
We were talking about LSU. They are not out of the right run for the West.
That's what I was thinking, which no disrespect to South Carolina, but how are you going to put them in over LSU after LSU just beat a ranked team and South Carolina just beat an unranked team?
LSU deserved to be ranked this week.
Yeah,
100%.
So not saying South Carolina doesn't. But,
I'm pretty sure they did get ranked.
Oh, you're right. They're 18. I'm just dumb. they have a bye this week. I didn't see them in the picks, and I just assumed that they were out of it. So we can just take all that back. We'll leave this in. We won't edit it out. But that's that embarrassing slip up from a normally professional standpoint, huh?
Oh man!
Can hold that over my head for the rest of the season.
Up next, we have Pitt. The biggest disappointment in the ACC.
Whoa, Miami's up there.
Miami, yeah, sorry. Going to... Can't wait. Have they played each other yet?
No, I don't think so.
That's going to be the mid-off of the year.
I don't know if they do play each other. I'll check while you look.
Yeah, all right, so we have Pitt going to take on number 21 UNC. UNC quietly, starting to put their head down and grind their way back into the AP poll. UNC favored by 3.5 here. Interesting. Like I said all episode, I don't like Pitt. I don't think that they're good. And Drake May, quarterback for UNC, is amazing. Their offense is one of the best in the countries.
Yeah.
The problem is their defense is one of the worst in the countries. But if you give me that home field environment, with that electric offense, I think that they can make Pitt slip up, and I think that they can win by a touchdown here. So give me UNC here.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Tar Heels in this one. I was actually in Chapel Hill this past week, so I got to see the old well, and that inspired me with confidence to take them this week. So I didn't drink from it, but I know what it looks like now. So I'm going to take UNC in this one as well. Pitt and Miami play each other in the last week of the season, so we'll have a mid-off before bowl season.
Yeah.
But
Wes was actually he went up to Chapel Hill, talked to all like the campus tour guides, and they gave him the inside scoop. So,
they knew. So
all right, who do we got for our last matchup?
Stanford going into UCLA, Pasadena, California. UCLA is favored by 16.5 in this one. They're number 12 in the country. Stanford coming off a win at Notre Dame though.
Yeah,
big win. UCLA coming off a bad loss at Oregon. So I had UCLA penciled in this one. I haven't given this game much consideration, but I honestly might switch to Stanford while I'm looking at it. So I'm going to go with Stanford until I hear what you have to say and get convinced otherwise. So Stanford so far.
You are correct. I'm going with Stanford here.
Wow. All right. I'm switching.
Same thing. I had UCLA at face value. I thought, it's just one loss. Stanford, though. I was really hard on them at the beginning of the season, but they've kind of... their defense is a little scary.
I think we were hard on them this episode. Skip back to like 3 minutes in and you'll see.
But let's just look at some of the data we have. Oregon versus Stanford. Oregon takes them out by 18. So that's barely covering.
Yeah.
And that's an Oregon team that just proved to us they are way better than UCLA.
Right.
USC beat Stanford by 13. Am I correct with that?
Yeah. They covered by 13.
Yeah, they beat them by 13. And this this Stanford defense continues to improve. We see that in the low-scoring win over Notre Dame. So I think that while it is in Pasadena, Stanford has the ability to make this a gritty kind of defensive game and keep it low-scoring. And 16.5 is a big line. They got to win by over 2 scores. Give me Stanford here. At UCLA, I think that they kind of got exposed last week, and I think Stanford's defense is going to keep it close.
Yeah, I misspoke, actually. Stanford covered by 23. The line was 9.5, but the margin in which they beat the line was 13.5 to equal 23. Stanford, like you said, that game against Oregon is kind of stuck in my memory, and the line in that one was 16.5 as well. And so if you're saying that, Stanford is going to be favored by the same, or gets the same amount against Oregon as they do against UCLA, and Oregon just whomped UCLA, I know it's not, comparative
compare
like that. It's a different game.
We are going to.
How are they going to match it up? Exactly. Give me Stanford in this one. They're the Cardinals. What's the deal with a tree in the middle of their logo? What? If you know, put it in the comments. I don't understand it.
We're going to ride with them anyway.
Yeah.
But that wraps it up for all our picks. 18 games this week, so a lot more than we've had recently.
Not a lot of as many bye weeks. Luckily.
Yeah. So it's good to have a full slate.
You know what the odds would be of picking all 18 games correctly this week?
I do not.
Against the spread. We're looking at, that's a lot of zeros. It would be about a 0.0004% chance. So, like 4 10,000ths of a possibility of us going perfect this week. Maybe we did it.
Put the house on it. It was me.
It was me. We'll see.
Yeah, so don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Like I said earlier, thank you so much for the support on the last video. We really we're glad that we were able to get this one out to y'all this week. And don't forget to tune in next week for more picks.